Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our nightly update. And, folks, we do not have much to discuss here tonight at all. So, we're going to go ahead and try to make it quick on everybody here. First up, we have the remnants of Lorenzo. Lorenzo, as of the 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, primary advisory has now become a remnant low pressure. Its final coordinates were 23.1 north, 42.5 west. And as we could see here, this is the final advisory. So that's it for Lorenzo. If we take a quick look at Earth Null and we pop it over here to the surface, this little feature right here was known as Lorenzo. It's done, folks. That's pretty much it. So now we shift our focus to the area here highlighted by the Global Prediction Center for portions of the Caribbean. If we take a look at our long range models, this is the European ensembles going out 10 days. As we could see, there is a little bit of a hint out here into the Western Caribbean, and then also another little bit of a hint here into parts of the Central Caribbean. If we come to day 7, we've got a couple circles, and then when we get to day 8, day 9, as you could see, it could develop pretty much anywhere along this zone here, from south of Hispaniola all the way over to near Central America. If we compare that with the GEFS, here we are out 7 days. We don't really have much, just a couple lines here and there, nothing too indicative of development. But by the time that we get to day 10, this region that we were highlighting yesterday, south of Hispaniola and south of Jamaica, kind of in this zone, between maybe 70 degrees west and 78, somewhere in that range. This is kind of the zone as to where the GFS is really honing in on for the potential of development. Although we do not see 31 lines. So development is not a guarantee or a certainty at this time. If we compare that with our Euro AI model, as you can see, there's signals there, but nothing with much intensity there at all. Maybe a tropical storm. But we'll have to wait and watch. The models are going to continue to adjust as we go forward. Now, comparing that with the Google DeepMind, and we run this forward, you could see there are a few circles there. And again, primarily kind of in this area south of Jamaica, south of the Dominican Republic, somewhere in this region is where what looks to be the best opportunity for development. And now here we are out 10 days. Each one of these dots represents 2% probability. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16, and 18. So now we're up to a 36% opportunity. Again, it is not a guarantee that we see tropical cyclone development with this. If we compare all of our ensembles with our deterministic runs, we have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. This is representative of the 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity. This is areas of spin approximately 1 mile above the ocean surface. As we run this forward, we will note here comes our wave that was in question. Neither one of them really has much to do with it at all. The Euro's got maybe a little bit more focused energy on that, but not a lot. Now, all of a sudden, As you could see here, the GFS wants to eventually spin something up. The Euro really wants to slow this down as it gets into parts of the Central Caribbean. And that is going to be the key, because if it is allowed to sit over the open waters and remain in a kind of a slow-ish environment there, it's going to fester over some extremely warm sea surface temperatures. Now, as we could see at the 240-hour mark, we have associated with the GFS a very strong frontal boundary system that is beginning to pull this northward in association with that weakness in the high pressure ridge. Does it get out? Going further than where we're at right now, we're already pushing the extreme limits of a deterministic model, and especially when we are trying to look at something that has to say, you know what, I think development is going to occur like 7-8 days down the road, and I think development is going to occur right here. Well, you know, we may have some really good models, but they're not that good. Now, if we take a look at the rest of the atmospheric environment, so now we've looked at where areas of spin are forecast to potentially be. They're approximately 5,000 feet above the ocean surface. With these graphics, we are looking at our humidity models, and this will give us an idea of the atmospheric moisture in the areas between approximately 10,000 feet, represented by the graphics on the bottom, to up around 18,000 feet, representative of the graphics on the top. We have the Euro on the left and the GFS on the right. As I run this forward, we already know we're looking for that one particular wave and, you know, what I like to call seed. The Euro and the GFS have a completely different depiction on the intensity of some of this dry air that's out there. But then, as you will note, the GFS, as we start to get out a little later, and the Euro also have a nice cold front that is forecast to kind of move into the region as we get into, say, next week. That cold front is going to potentially be deflecting. Now, the Euro has a completely different solution than what the GFS does, because the Euro is able to get this storm further to the left or west. The GFS wants to develop it, stall it, and then eventually pull it northward. So again, a great amount of uncertainty. One thing that we will have to watch for is exactly where, if a storm develops, where is it? Exactly where is that storm? Because that is going to be what we like to call the launching point. Until we get a bona fide launching point, or an area of invest at least, right now, everything is going to be speculative and hypothetical, because the models are not geared, especially the deterministic runs, are not geared to pick up on something as small as a very small little surface circulation 8 days out, 9 days out. So we are going to have a lot of unknowns here. What looks to be, you know, kind of, I don't want to say in the bag, but what looks to be that we're going to have this wave axis pocket move through the windwards and the southern Lesser Antilles here in and around, say, Sunday going into Monday. So we could see the increased opportunity of shower and thunderstorm, which would then potentially increase the flash flooding threat, especially in areas of high terrain. Now, just because we have areas of spin and maybe a little bit of atmospheric moisture, we've also got another component that we have to deal with, and that is the potential for wind shear. We have the euro on the left and the GFS on the right. These two graphics are representative of the winds between approximately 5,000 and 40,000 feet above the ocean surface. So, as we run this forward, we will note that there is a good amount of wind shear present east of the islands. But if we look here into the central and western Caribbean, now granted, we're only at 2.5 days out. But if you notice, there is some shear that develops. But then as we get further along, you will note that there is a pocket of lighter shear out here north of the Greater Antilles, which includes the large islands of Cuba, Hispaniola, and Puerto Rico. North of that, we've got a decent amount of shear. The GFS shows an increase in shear down here in parts of the Caribbean, but here at day 7, we've already seen with our, looking at the cyclonic vorticity, we have an area of concentrated vorticity trying to develop right there. With the euro, we've got a broad area of low pressure that is present here. Now, as I run this forward, you will note a considerable difference between both of these deterministic runs. The euro has this more in line of being, kind of in an environment to where there really isn't a decent amount of shear, and it is forecast to continue off slowly to the west-northwest. The GFS, on the other hand, is facing a little bit of a different story, because as we could see here in day 8, there is a trough right here, and this is causing the steering flow out ahead of that to be in this general direction. And as you don't see that trough here, you just see the winds kind of coming in like this and blowing through, basically killing the main development region of the tropical Atlantic. This is indicative of a very wintertime pattern right here. And, from the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook, we don't have really anything on the outlook for week 3, which is the first time that we've seen that in quite some time. But now here comes the question. If you look here at the end of the model run that we'll show here tonight at 240 hours, you have this trough right here with the GFS, and this is digging down and allowing what would be Melissa to draw northward and potentially out into the open waters of the Atlantic. Unfortunately, it would have to go through land to get there. The euro, on the other hand, has a large area of an anticyclonic high pressure to where the storm here is creating its own environment with its outflow in all directions. You can see that here on the model here. So that's going to be the question. Now again, we may not have anything develop. And if we looked at what we saw there earlier, 998 millibars here associated with a surface low pressure from the euro is equivalent of a moderate to strong end tropical storm. The question is, will be the wind gradient that is, or the pressure gradient that exists out here. But again, if anything tries to get in here, the biggest threat is going to be, in potential, the biggest threat would be the folks here in southern Florida. If the stars were to line up just right, perfectly, with perfect timing, perfect development location, there takes so many things. There is the same risk for Florida as there would be coming this way, and even scenarios that drive it in here or here. So right now, there is just enough signal, 30, like a 1 in 3 chance as far as what the Google DeepMind is showing, that we may see tropical cyclone development. The only thing that is really certain when you get tropical cyclone development, and I'll pop over here to EarthNull to basically show, when you get tropical cyclone development in the Caribbean, I don't care where you develop it. Where is it going to go to where it's not going to impact somebody? It's the same scenario here with the Gulf. You get development in the Gulf, unless it dies in the Gulf, it can't get out. It goes to the Northeast, Florida, or the North American landmasses in the way. Drive it to the west. You've got Mexico, Texas. The Yucatan is still into play. If you like what we saw with Milton, one coming this way. It's once it's in these areas, it's basically trapped. So anybody here from the Central Caribbean westward, and even from maybe like the I-4 corridor south on the Florida Peninsula, Yucatan, we're talking Belize, Honduras, Nicaragua, even folks there in Costa Rica, Guatemala. I mean, there's enough, folks. There, Jamaica, Caymans, Cuba, Hispaniola, Bahamas. We got one more to watch. And then after this, it doesn't look like we're going to have much of anything at all. So, everybody just please recommended to just monitor things as we go forward. No reason to panic or, get any anxiety. Again, it is not guaranteed to develop. So, taking a quick look at our nightly MJO update, our Madden-Julian oscillation, as you can see here, we're still kind of in that phase 1. Forecast to move into parts of phase 2, phase 3, and eventually getting to 4 and 5. Once we get that MJO pattern over here, we end up with the lift that comes from the enhancement of the MJO over portions of the maritime continent, which is basically Southeast Asia, getting into that region. Well, that lift creates suppressing air that comes in on the opposite side, which is basically where we live. That being in that forecast is one of the reasons why you see week 3 here from the Global Tropics Hazards Outlook with no potential development expected over the Atlantic or the Eastern Pacific Basin. We haven't seen that in a while, folks. We haven't seen that in a while at all. All right, if you guys got any questions on the Atlantic, please feel free, throw them out there. I am going to take a look. Oh, hi, Miss Betty. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're hoping on, Miss Betty, is just we want to keep it out of the Gulf. Let's have a record year to where it's been the first time that we haven't had a tropical cyclone in the Gulf, other than, if you want to call Barry something there, but earlier this year. But, I mean, we needed a break. And we've got one more threat to go through. One. And we may be able to shut this season down. One more true threat. Now, granted, we may get a little subtropical, whatever, a little hybrid thing, whatever, what have you, in the month of November. But the big threats, we only got one left. And it's not even a guarantee that it's going to develop. So, I mean, one more. That's all we're looking for. One more. And I really don't see much on the cards after that, much at all. We've just got to get rid of this one more. All right, jumping out to the Eastern Pacific, we do have Invest 91E now, currently with a 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days. It is not guaranteed to develop, even though we do have an Invest tag on it. If we look at the Euro ensembles, taking it out 10 days, there's not a lot there. There's some little bit of signal here and there, but it is certainly not a guarantee that it is going to develop. And we've seen pretty much enough out there in the Eastern Pacific this year. They've certainly showed plenty of strong storms, especially in the beginning part of the hurricane season. That was crazy. Comparing the Euro with the GEFS, as we could see, there is the potential for some area of development with this out here. But the GEFS has very few ensemble members that get it close to the Mexican mainland. If we could keep it out far enough offshore, it wouldn't be much of an impact. I will say this, I did see a report earlier today on social media about this particular section and coastline of Mexico and the anomalously high rainfall that they have seen in this particular spot, and in some cases 12 inches above their monthly normals. So we would really like to keep some inclement weather out of this region and allow these folks to recover and get the soil to dry out enough to where if something else were to come, the soils had the capacity to be able to absorb the water. If we compare our legacy models with the Euro AI, it's much even a less of a signal out here for Invest 91E. I can even throw in Google DeepMind on this, and as you can see, there are some signals. And it's a decent amount of dots right there. So it is what, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So you're looking at about a 50% chance of development. Right now, the National Hurricane Center is running 40-60. So a good representation, a good shot from the Google DeepMind. And, it might be a brand new model, but folks, the Google DeepMind is wiping the floor with the rest of our models this year. It really is. I cannot wait until the final statistics come out and I get to share them with y'all, because when I say wiping the floor with some of the models, it's not even close. It's been an absolute refreshing upgrade to the tools that meteorologists have at their fingers, because this one's a game changer, and I'm really excited to see what will become of this particular model for the algorithm and their pattern recognition that they're using. They've stumbled onto something absolutely amazing, folks, and really look forward to having this tool in the years to come. It's going to be very beneficial. And last but not least, we're going to jump out here to the Western Pacific with Invest 96W. This is forecast to potentially develop and move towards areas here in the Philippines. So, folks, please make sure you're monitoring Pagasa if you are out here in this particular region. And we'll have to wait and see how this evolves over the coming days. Hopefully it doesn't turn into anything too overly significant. All right, that's about all that I have for everybody here tonight. Let's take a look. Oh, somebody's trying to tell somebody to behave in the Facebook chat. Yeah, I wish you the best of luck on that, folks. That's not gonna happen. Chaos is abound in the Facebook chat normally, and especially when we get to the parts of the season to where it's like, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, or the field in the hypothetical woods that we have been walking through for hurricane season. We could see the light. It's there. But, man, we've only got just a little bit longer to go. And I really hope that we get no development from this. I hope this thing just conks out. And it too much land interaction with South America, stays real weak, doesn't get its act together, and just eventually deteriorates due to some kind of trough, something or other. That would be I would be ever so thankful if we can keep it down to a minimum with no threat to anybody out here from anything significant. So, all right, everybody. Have a wonderful evening, and we will be back live again tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central here on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll be live every night until Halloween. So regardless what we've got out there, come join us. We'll talk about nothing if we have to. So, we'll start pulling up things that are occurring in other parts of the world if we really, really have to. So, all right. Talk to you all tomorrow night. Good night, everybody.